The issue of liberalism is an expansive one, and it's something that has a long history that we can't really summarize in 2 minutes, but it encompasses a lot of different ideas. And basically, liberalism is a European colonial project. And we have to have this kind of expansive understanding of what liberalism is. We shouldn't just think of it like the Democratic Party. Because when you look at really the danger of liberalism, it's not constrained to one political party in the United States. It's an overall project that includes both Democrats, Republicans, libertarians. And the basic idea of liberalism is that we have to maximize human liberty and individual choice. And liberalism came from European thinkers who were fighting against religion, and they viewed religion, specifically Christianity, as something that chains human beings down, as something that really clouds the mind and is contrary to rationality, contrary to science. And they saw religion as a plague. And what they wanted to do, the entire project that began in Europe within the 16th and 17th centuries leading up to the Enlightenment, was to say that we don't need Christianity, we don't need scripture to understand what is right and wrong and what is actually correct in terms of a form of government. We can use our minds, we can use science that's completely divorced from revelation or from God's commandments. So liberalism has this history in anti-religion, and that was exported through colonialism. When the European empires, the British, the French, the Dutch, started colonizing different parts of the world, and they wanted to bring the people that they colonized into the light of liberty and freedom and these kinds of values. Basically, what they say is that we don't need God. We can just know what is right based on what maximizes liberty, what maximizes freedom. And that tells us what's right or wrong. The problem is that this is very contrary to all religions. It's in fact contrary to all forms of traditional life. Because if you look at any kind of traditional life, what you are obligated to do as an individual, as a person, part of a community, is you have certain obligations. You have obligations to your family, you have obligations to your community, you have obligations to your children. These are all duties that you have, and that's part of human life. That's part of being a human being. And it's what, in many ways, for many people, this is the sweetness of life, is having these kinds of duties. But what liberalism comes and says is that no, what's most important is your individual liberty. And if you have responsibilities towards other people, these are burdens on you, right? So we have to dissolve these kinds of relationships. We have to dissolve these types of burdens. And that's why you have this kind of individualism that is so rampant. And you have people like, look at a country like Turkey or Pakistan or Egypt, where the youth will say things like, look, I'm tired of having the burden of religion. Like, why do I have to pray? Why do I have to fast? Why do I have to be good to my parents? Like, why do I have to get married and be tied to a partner through marriage? Like, why can't I just be free? Why can't I just do what I want? So this is a kind of liberal mentality, and I'm really saying it. But you can see like this major contrast between an Islamic mindset and a liberal mindset. And what you find is that these ideologies, part of the liberal mindset is, or part of the colonial project, was to get Muslims to think in this way, to think in a liberal mindset. Why? Because then they'll leave Islam, and they'll be more easily manipulated by the colonial power, because the colonial power can present himself as a liberator. We are freeing you from the shackles of religion. And they're very explicit about this, like in Egypt and in wherever Muslims were colonized. They would particularly focus on Muslim women, and they'll say, look, your religion tells you have to cover yourself and not mix with men and not go into certain places where men are. These are restrictions. They're taking advantage of you. Us, the liberators, Muslim, to save Muslim women. We're telling you that you don't need any of these things, right? So that was the message, and that's still the message today. And it's just a different form, like it's just through social media and satellite TV. So this is something that is affecting Muslims all over the world. And You know, in some parts of the Muslim world, unfortunately, it's getting to be a bigger and bigger problem where people are actually, Muslims are not only liberalizing, they're completely abandoning Islam.
Yes.